Welcome to Quiero Dinero podcast. Juan Pablo Delgado takes you with business owners interviews, professionals, and people who are in the hustle. Quiero Dinero es un espacio para cotorrear sobre negocios, emprendimiento, la vida misma y el dinero.
Hi everyone, it's mid-September and we're still facing difficult times with largest wildfires in California and more Americans filed for unemployment benefits last week. Please remember to wear a mask and keep social distancing. My guest is a real fighter. She is Patricia Rodriguez. She was born to a poor working single mother and grew up homeless until 7 years old. Her mother battled addiction until Patricia was a teenager. She always determined to make a difference, set herself to getting higher education and becoming a lawyer. She graduated with honors after a rocky start her freshman year. Patricia left her mother's home at 13 and lived with her family in California while attending high school. I told you, she's a real fighter, right? She attended the University of Southern California on scholarship, graduating with Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with concentration in marketing and communications. She went to attend law school in Philadelphia at Temple University School of Law. She participated in the Montreal team for 3 years in high school, 3 years in college, and on Temple's national trial team. Always knowing law was her passion and life. She received exceptional advocacy training from one of the best law school programs in the country. Patricia dedicated and focused on her practice. She carries a caseload and manages the entire legal and business team. She has taken her exceptional training in trial advocacy and aggressively litigated hundreds of cases with compassionate and tireless effort. She currently has dedicated her life and career to helping the underdog fight the impossible fight. She treats every case she handles as if it were her only case and gives each client as much personal attention. I'm Juan Pablo Delgado, MBA, founder of Raise the Bar, Latinx and Financial Pro, and you're listening to Quiero Dinero podcast. Patricia, thank you for being in the podcast today with us.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Thanks so much for asking me here. I'm excited to have a conversation.
Thank you, absolutely. And Patricia, in a few minutes, please tell our community about yourself, about what do you do and how do you start?
Oh, yes, my pleasure, my pleasure. My name's Patricia Rodriguez, and I definitely start from humble beginnings. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, and I was homeless until I was 7, and my mom was addicted to crack till I was 13, so I definitely started behind the race, wow. But caught up somewhere along the line in college. I went to USC, and I graduated and carried on to law school in Philadelphia and Temple University, and I opened my own practice here in Los Angeles, California, approximately 10 years ago. I've been doing criminal defense, foreclosure defense, and civil defense ever since. I also do a lot of real estate law, a lot of landlord-tenant law, and I really, really enjoy the opportunity to serve others, to help them build the community, and doing it through the law is a very exciting place for me to be.
What do you like the most about your job, your business?
I certainly love helping other people. That's probably the number one motivating factor. And not just my clients, but of course I love to help my clients, but also the people that work for me that are able, it's a place where I'm able to create jobs and also the opportunity to serve the community. So all of those things contribute to just a labor of love. It's a constant inviting invitation for me to just want to work. I don't have children yet, and I'm not married yet, so I'm pretty much married to my job, in which I just love the law. I love to research and write and be in court. I had 2 court hearings this morning. One was via court call and one was via Zoom, and it was just like the life of a lawyer.
Oh, I see. Oh, wonderful. And tell us about why did you pick your industry?
Right. Yeah. So again, going back to my upbringing, I saw a lot of injustice growing up because, again, I was pretty poor. Like, we were begging on the streets for money to eat and a place to sleep. And so you see a lot of things go wrong. And people told me at a really young age that if I wanted to make a difference and I wanted to see change, that I needed to be a lawyer, that I needed to be an attorney. So ever since I was like 7 years old, I just had this dream, this motivating, undeniable belief that I could change the world and I could do it through the law. That's what motivates me to be a lawyer.
Oh my God, that's wonderful. Wow. And Patricia, how did you overcome that challenge and what you learned from it?
Wow, it takes little bite-sized pieces. You need to make sure that you give yourself a break and pace yourself, and you're not going to go somewhere overnight. It takes stepping stones. You got to do step 1, 2, 5, 10, 20 before you're at a certain level or can expect yourself to be at a certain level. And definitely reach out to people, network, and let other people help you. Let other people know that you need help, because you can't do it alone. You won't do it alone. And even if you could and you could do so much better if you have a network of people backing you on every level.
Wow, I 100% agree with you, and that was amazing. And Patricia, what accomplishments are you most proud of, and why?
For sure, graduating college and then law school, because I was the first in my family, first generation, to graduate school. Opening my own practice is definitely up there on the top of the list. And certainly on a personal level, getting engaged last year was definitely, an exciting and happy time. So those things are all, great accomplishments that I'm proud of.
Absolutely. I mean, it's impressive. Patricia, what leaders or mentors do you respect or look up, and why?
I'm really proud of my mother. My mom comes to mind. She came from even more humble beginnings and was a runaway at 13 and just, managed to get 2 of her children to college and own a little piece of property, so those things are just, and she's been clean from drugs for 23 years. So all of that is just oh my God, that takes exceptional strength. In terms of maybe politics, I do like Alexandria Cortez. I think that she brings a level of passion and a level of knowledge, and she really certainly tries to empower her own voice and empower people. So I really, I do look up to her, because I think even if you don't agree with all of her policies, which I do fairly much, pretty much agree with her policies, but even if you don't, she definitely stands up for herself and gives a voice to the little people, or, the people's people. So I can appreciate that, and I like that.
Right. No, and she's a fighter. It's the most important thing for you right now, and why?
I think right now in the business world, in terms of my practice, it's really a lot of automation. It's about using a lot of different platforms to make tasks that usually take me hours and hours. Right now, I need to set up about 15 client calls. Well, if I can send all of them at once and a link to send it up on Acuity, and they just go to my calendar and set it up, and that sends me an email, well, that's vastly easier than manually going and emailing back and forth until we find an agreeable time, and then I set it up on my calendar. And so, anything like that, anything I can do with software, like my case, I definitely am appreciating and enjoying, and also going paperless. I think, just not having paper. Paper is just, it doesn't do anything for your business now. If I was starting 10 years later, that's the number one thing I would say right now if I was starting a practice is start paperless, be paperless. You'll never have to expend a lot of resources to go paperless.
Patricia, share with our community your biggest insights about business or your most valuable financial lesson.
Definitely make sure you have a good account. Make sure that you're paying your EDD employment wages. Make sure you're paying your IRS wages, IRS federal taxes. Just make sure that you've got all that in line, because the feds get their money. You don't want to get behind on any of that. So, that, and just make sure you have some capital set aside in case things like the pandemic happen, in case there's changes in the market. You know, it's good if you can set aside something and have something set aside. It's going to help, you know, in those lulls.
Right. No, and that's very good advice. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And also here in Quiero Dinero podcast, we also want to share some more specific ideas about dinero, about money. And you know that a lot of times I got questions like, Juan, what should I invest my money? You know, should I invest in stocks, bonds, maybe mutual funds, or maybe I should save for that emergency fund that you were talking about, or buying a house? And the reality is that every situation is different, and it's based on your personal stage of life and personal situation. And my point here is to encourage our listeners to start the conversation with professionals and to allow themselves to know exactly what investments are relevant to the stage of life that you're in, and of course what you can do to reach your goals. And with that in mind, what's your taking or what's your thought about it?
I think everything you just said is absolutely spot on, right? Is that you need to have a conversation about it. It's unique and different and specific to each individual person and their exact assets and liabilities. That's the first thing that came to mind when thinking, okay, I've got money, where should I invest it, is you should probably go see a financial planner. You should probably go see an attorney or somebody who can guide you, especially the more money you have to invest, right? If you're investing $100,000 or more, that may be your whole life savings. Like, you want to make sure that investment does not, ultimately end up being a complete loss, because that's going to be really, really difficult to recover from.
Exactly. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, and I appreciate it. Yeah, and I 100% agree with you. And Patricia, what's the next level of growth that you're excited about, both personal and professional?
Well, certainly I'm excited to get married, at some point. I think we have a long engagement ahead of us, especially with this pandemic going on. But that's exciting, and that's a good feeling to know that's in the horizon at some future point. And professionally, I'm just really excited for the time that this pandemic has been going on. I've really taken it to rejuvenate myself and to focus on the business side of my practice while the legal side slowed down a little bit. And I've found that now that the legal side is picking up on things like evictions, I'm ready. Like, it's all in place, everything's a go, and now it's just build, and it feels good. So for me, I see myself as a billionaire. That's my next step. Yeah. That's my next growth path. That's where I'm headed.
I love it. Thank you. Absolutely. Sounds great. Great.
You have to see yourself there, right? Before you'll be there. You got to feel it and sense it and know it exists before it materializes.
Absolutely.
Or thoughts become things. And so I think, I'm motivated by that thought of myself and one day it'll exist. And to whatever extent it does or it doesn't, I'm still happy in the moment seeing myself that way, right?
Right. 100% agree with that. Absolutely. And Patricia, what legacy would you want to leave behind?
Well, certainly my practice, and, I hope to have children to pass it on to, and the knowledge I have, I hope to write some books before. I'm pretty young. I'm 36, so, I got some time, I think at least, if the sun doesn't completely get blacked out by these fires over here, right? Like, I got some time to still do some things. But I would like to see, the firm help more people. I'd like to see my future husband's business. He does drone strategic partnership. I'd like to see his business take off and perhaps it go public. And so those things are all part of the legacy I think we hope to leave to our children and our family, and just the earth, and helping make it a better place, and leaving behind, goodwill and good faith and effort towards our human species and colleagues.
Wow, excelente. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I love it. And Patricia, what's the best way for the community to get in touch with you or your firm?
Well, you can definitely find us at www.attorneyprod.com. And that's also our Instagram handle. That's Attorney Prod on Instagram. And you can find me, Patricia Rodriguez, on Facebook, as well as our law firm, Rodriguez Law Group. And ultimately, you can email us at prod@attorneyprod.com. That's prod@attorneyprod.com. Or you can reach us by phone at 626-888-5206.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And Patricia, before we wrap this up, a final message you would like to share with our audience?
Be true to yourself. Always find faith in who you are and what you have to offer. Know that we're here to support you in any way we can, and we're just sending out kindness and happiness. The universe is a kind universe.
Wow, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. And Patricia Rodriguez, again, thank you so much for being in the podcast today. And we are wishing you all the best, and be safe. And of course, keep raising the bar. Thank you. Thank you again for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. Thank you. And you have a blessed one, Juan. Bye-bye.
For all out there, keep raising the bar as well. I hope you enjoyed this interview, and thank you for listening, and please don't forget to share. Thank you for my support, RTV Financial Group in Beverly Hills, Callcast, and Power Podcasting.